अस्सलाम वालेकुम अस्सलाम वालेकुम मेरा नाम है वाले है मैं हम स्कूल की कैंपस का स्टूडेंट हूँ फाउंडेशन लेवल में कॉल talk with call any my first question why is water considered instant call any Maya my first
Hi.
question why is water considered instant for life on the earth
I think I missed that clearly. Could you say that again?
why is water considered essential for life on the earth
Because water is this incredible weirdo molecule, right? Most things, like salt or oil, they're useful, yeah, but water does this wild thing where it can literally do almost everything for living things.
give me more detail
Well, for starters, I know it's everything. It's every structure. Those tiny hydrogen bonds making it bend, give it superpowers. It dissolves more stuff than anything else, carries nutrients to cells, keeps temperature stable, and is literally inside cells, giving them structure. I didn't
how
catch that. What?
how
Sorry, I was trying to parse what you were saying about being there. Did you say something about being somewhere specific?
How did water first appear on the Earth on our planet?
That's the $1 billion question. Yeah, the leading theory is it arrived with asteroids and comets early in Earth's history, basically. Space rocks, delivering water over millions of years while Earth was cooling down. But there's this crazy debate about whether some water could have been here from the start, like maybe rock formations held it deep inside, released as the planet cooled and volcanoes happened. No one's really sure which came first, and that makes sense. There's compelling evidence for both. Oh, okay, sounds good.
Why can life not exist without water?
Well, most life as we know it, basically everything on Earth, has carbon. And carbon chemistry works magically, but it needs liquid water for those chemical reactions even to happen. Think of it like water's the workshop where life cooks up all its essential ingredients, molecules, right? No liquid water, no workshop.
My next question how does water help chemical reaction in living cells?
Water actually does a bunch of stuff at the cell level. It's not just one thing. First, it's like the main transport system. Cells are constantly shipping nutrients in and waste out, and it all happens through water. Plus, water fills out the cell structure and helps chemical reactions. It's not like we have this fancy kitchen with water pipes everywhere, but, the cell itself pretty much dissolves in liquid to stay functional.
My next question why can life not exist without water?
Didn't we just talk about that? You asked it right before this one. You said, why can life not exist without water? And I explained how water is crucial for carbon chemistry in cells.
Give me more detail.
Well, we covered basics like water being essential to how cells function and transport stuff. But go deeper, water is actually incredible at regulating temperature, keeping things stable inside cells. Think of like if your computer overheated, cells are kind of like that too. Then there's surface tension, lets water resist things trying to break it apart, essential for cell structure. And it's basically the glue that helps them function.
How does water help chemical reaction in living cells?
Could you say that again? I'm not sure what you meant by Jenny correction.
How does water help chemical reaction in living cells?
Are you asking about chemical reactions, like how water participates in them? If so, water isn't just the medium reactions happen in, it actually joins in a lot of them directly, like breaking down big molecules for energy or building proteins from building blocks. It participates, it doesn't just watch.
What's make water different from other liquid?
That's where things get trippy. Most other liquids aren't nearly as good at dissolving things. Water dissolves more stuff than anything else is. And it's more stable with something called high heat capacity, meaning it doesn't change temperatures as dramatically. Like compare boiling water to, I don't know, rubbing alcohol, way different stability. Then you have the way water is polar. So water molecule creates electric forces that make it connect, like magnets.
Wow. What makes different water from other liquids?
The way it bends. Water molecules aren't straight. They form this little angle that gives them superpowers. Other liquids are straight line and can't have those same functions that water molecules do,
Hmm.
right?
Uh,
Pretty weird how something shaped differently does so much more than other liquids.
how does water regulate earth and temperature?
Are you asking how water helps regulate Earth's temperature?
Hmm.
Water has this insane ability to absorb and release heat, much more than other liquids. Oceans absorb huge amounts of energy from the sun, keeping Earth from overheating. Then, when Earth cools, the ocean releases that stored heat back slowly. That's why places near coasts have milder winters and summers than places inland.
Hmm. Give me more detail.
Mm. The way water interacts with light is pretty unique too. Water absorbs certain wavelengths of light, but lets others pass through. It's why the ocean looks blue. It's also why ice can look white. Light is scattered when passes through it because structure is changed from flowing water to frozen ice. Plus, that heat capacity thing helps absorb sunlight without spiking the temperature.
Give me more detail.
A second of what? I didn't quite catch that.
Hmm. Why is water considered essential for life on the earth?
We've talked about a lot of reasons, but to boil it down, water is integral because of its unique chemical properties, being a great solvent, having a high heat capacity, moderating temperature, keeping cells structural. Carbon chemistry basically needs liquid water to even function, as liquid enables it to make proteins. Everything life relies on exists because life can stay in liquid.
Uh, how did water first appear on the planet?
Did you mean waterfalls or were you asking how water first appeared on Earth? You said waterfalls, but that sounds different than what we've been discussing about water's origins.
Hmm. How does water
I'm going to assume you meant
what world
how does water help me?
what world Earth look like without water?
A desert planet, totally baked and lifeless, basically Mars. The surface would be scorching hot in the sun, freezing cold at night since there'd be nothing to hold heat. No atmosphere to speak of since there wouldn't be clouds or liquid for air pressure to stick around. No weather patterns or oceans. Everything would be baked rock and dust.
Give me more detail.
Without water, there'd be no oxygen, as water is how we get it through photosynthesis. Plants converting light, no living matter converting light. Everything is barren rock. What mountains exist would get broken up by erosion too, with nothing to hold structures together. And even if rocks somehow held up, weather cycles would get totally messed up with extreme swings of heat and cold with absolutely no moderation. What are you thinking about?
Uh,
Mm.
what role did oceans play in the beginning for life?
For life to start on Earth?
What would Earth look like without water?
We already talked about that actually. Remember when you asked what would Earth look like without water? And I described it as a lifeless desert like Mars, barren rock and sand everywhere, crazy temperature swings, that kind of thing.
Give me more detail.
Okay, but let's go deeper. The atmosphere would be almost non existent. Plants can't exist, so there would be no oxygen to breathe and very little protection from the sun's radiation. There'd be dust storms constantly tearing across the landscape, and any moisture that formed would flash freeze at night or boil away during the day. No oceans, no clouds, just this red, hostile planet. And you'd have this eerie silence because no plants or animals could possibly be there.
How did early migrations depend on your Earth? Water.
I'm confused by this. Are you asking if my answers have been like a painting or piece of art or something else you were trying to ask?
Give me more detail.
I think maybe what you meant was whether or not my responses gave you a clear picture, like showing how intricate and dynamic water is to life. Maybe whether it felt like more than just facts. But can you help me understand what you're asking about?
Water and the origin of life.
I think you mean how water interacts with specific organs in our bodies. Like it's critical for blood flow because we need it to get nutrients around the body. Water makes up about 75% of brain tissue, and dehydration can impact thinking. Even things like digestion and how we process. Water is essentially the carrier for all chemical processes our bodies need.
Give me more detail.
Well, water keeps our joints lubricated so they don't grind together, regulates body temperature through sweat, and flushes out toxins from kidneys. It maintains electrolyte balance for nerve and muscle function. Basically, water keeps you literally functioning at a cellular level. Every organ uses it. It is the medium of all metabolic processes.
How does water regulate Earth temperatures?
Water has a really high heat capacity. It takes a lot of energy to heat up and also a lot of energy to cool down, which means oceans absorb massive heat from sun without drastic changes. Then they release slowly back so Earth can stay nice, constant temperature. Sweat gets evaporating energy because it has high heat capacity, cools down body by giving back energy water needs.
Uh, How? Why do scientists search for water when looking for life on the Earth planets, other planets?
Because water is fundamental for life as we understand it. If we find water on another planet, we can assume complex chemical reactions can form there, which means potential for living matter. The presence of liquid water is one of key indicators that planets habitable, because where there's water, there could be organic molecules and energy, essential building blocks for life.
How did early microorganisms depend on earth water?
Early microorganisms were fully surrounded by oceans in the early Earth. They lived in water since it was their natural environment. They evolved there. They got chemicals they needed from water, used water in chemical reactions to survive. Everything was immersed because planet was water world pretty early on. That
If
was
you
a deep
hold it,
dive into eggs. I appreciate it. Water really is pretty fascinating stuff when you break it down like that, huh?
how did two access to water shape early humans and humans?
Are you asking about how access to fresh water sources shaped where humans settled and how we evolved? The availability of fresh water had a huge impact on where early humans could live. They needed reliable sources for drinking, agriculture, and just surviving day to day. Settlements tended to form around rivers and lakes, which in turn led to the development of civilizations in places like Mesopotamia, Egypt, and along the Indus Valley. It also shaped trade routes, migration patterns. Water dictated basically where people could thrive.
Why did ancient civilizations develop near rivers?
That's the same idea. Rivers gave reliable drinking water for the whole settlement, provided fertile soil from annual flooding for good farms, transportation route for goods, also allowed for good irrigation for growing more crops, and served basic source of hygiene like waste disposal away from farms and towns. Access to all those made rivers the center of early civilization development.
What role did water play in trade the transportations?
Rivers and oceans were the first major trade routes. Water is easy for transport, moves much quicker compared to roads or trails. Coastal cities grew as trade hubs since people shipped goods from inland downriver to those hubs, then ships overseas with cheaper transport from ports rather than caravans, land routes. Before railroads or planes, literally entire economies were built around using waterways.
How has water been linked to power and survival through history?
You mean like hydroelectric power? How water generates electricity using dams to power electricity through waterways, or like the old canal systems. People controlled access to rivers and canals for irrigation or using river ports for trade and wealth to control power dynamics. They basically built structures around using water as way for leverage.
How has water been linked to power of survival through history?
Access to it meant you could farm, which meant a food surplus. Food surplus means armies and populations grow easier. So controlling water sources was literally controlling land, controlling resources, and controlling people. That was a massive power dynamic. The ability to control water meant control over who thrived and who didn't, literally life and death back in a lot of conflicts across history.
Why is clean water still a global challenge today?
Yeah, for sure. Climate change makes things worse. Droughts, floods, more frequent disasters disrupting water supplies. Population is getting bigger, which means more demand for water for cities and farming, and it keeps increasing. Pollution from farms, factories, waste damages what we have left for us. Millions of people don't have safe drinking water every single day, so access to it is one of biggest threats global right now.
How has water shaped borders and conflict?
I'm a little confused. Did you say water shaping borders in conflict or something else? The transcription is kind of garbled there.
Why did incidental civilization develop near rivers?
I think you're trying to ask how civilizations developed near rivers. They formed around river systems because rivers gave everything early settlements needed: water, fertile land for farming, thanks to silt from annual flooding, transport routes, and irrigation, all combined to give societies advantages in growth for cities and populations.
Hmm. How has water been linked to power and survival throughout history? Why has water considered sacred in many extinct cultures? Why is clean still a global challenge today? How has water shaped borders and conflict, water and language?
Wow, that's a lot to connect. Let me try to piece this together. It sounds like you're interested in how water has been central to power, culture, survival, and conflicts, plus in conflict throughout history. Plus, it's still a challenge today. Here's the through line: water is power. Controlling it means control of land, food, economies. It's why civilizations developed near rivers, and why disputes over access to resources have sparked conflicts for thousands of years. Clean water is still a problem because of pollution, climate change, rising populations. In many cultures, water carries symbolic weight: cleansing ceremonies, metaphors about life, death. The word water itself is deeply embedded in language and ritual.
Why is clean water still a global challenge today?
Clean water is still a global challenge for several reasons. Growing populations mean more demand, while climate change leads to water scarcity and erratic rainfall patterns. Industrial pollution and inadequate sewage treatment also contaminate supplies. Plus, just sheer neglect of aging infrastructure means pipes leak, systems fail, and lots of clean water gets wasted before it even reaches people.
Uh, why? How has water shaped borders and conflict?
Historically, civilizations fought over prime river valleys like the Nile, Indus, and Tigris Euphrates. Access meant agriculture and power. Even today, rivers crossing borders are flashpoints. Downstream countries worry upstream states might dam water sources during drought or overuse them, causing shortages. It's created serious political tensions.
What lesson can we learn from past water crises?
I think you might have had some transcript issues. What's that first word you said? Bathwater courses? Could you try saying that again?
What lesson can we learn from past water crises?
Past crises teach a lot. Diversifying water sources, don't rely on one river or aquifer. Invest in water efficient tech like irrigation and leak detection. Treat wastewater, makes it reusable resource. International collaboration for transboundary rivers avoids crises. And most importantly, manage water sustainably with long term vision instead of short term exploitation.
How is water used as multiple language? Why do many emotions get compared to water? Has water influenced items and expressions? Does water symbols in property and stories? Do we source water? We life, property and flow? Do different cultures describe water in their language? Does water teach us about connection between like people and words?
That's a beautiful way to put it. Water is incredibly powerful in language, used as emotional metaphor since it embodies flowing, adaptability, purity, even destruction. Deep emotions, flowing conversation, being washed over with love. These come from how we relate to water experience. Water assembles resources and stories so naturally, since everything revolves around having it for survival. Our bodily fluids made of water makes water fundamental symbol language. It connects cultures too. Rivers as sacred places across civilizations. From stories about rebirth through immersion to symbolic cleansing in religions, water runs deeply through how humans describe ourselves and feel.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.